Going on, guys? Steven here, one half of TPP, joined with my other half, Troy. Say what's up.
Hey, what's happening?
There he is. And today we have an absolute dope host, like killing the game like no other. His fleet, insane. And yeah, we're going to get right into it. Caleb, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into
How's it
Turo?
going? For sure. My name's Caleb. Been running on Turo for 3 years. Really started to get at it in July of 2021. Um, or no, sorry, last year. Really, June is when we kind of went all in on Turo. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me. We operate in three different markets in the Western United States. So.
Damn, nice. So, are you managing it by yourself? Like, what's your team looking like?
Yeah, so in my home market, I've got a part-time employee, and then I run day-to-day operations. And then in the other two markets, we have business partners and family that run our fleets just during the off season, and then during the summer months, we move all of our cars and concentrate them in my home market. So.
Nice. So, like at a like what's like a rough number would you say you're employing on average?
In terms of like hourly or
Like
um,
so you said you have like a part-time employee and then you have
oh
like friends and family.
yeah.
Like what's like a number?
Yeah. I've got three total people that are running operations through besides me. So four people.
Four, okay. And
So
how many cars again?
40 we're at 42 cars
42 and 4.
currently.
Nice. Nice, nice.
And so in the other markets, we've got 10 in one of them, 10 in the other, and then 15 to 20 depending on whether or not I'm in whether or not I'm around in the other. So,
Nice. So,
Awesome.
yep.
Running in three different markets, right? How do you get your cars in between these markets, and what's kind of your determining factor of when you need to bring cars to a different market? Is it seasonality based? Is it if people have the time, or what's the deal with that? Because obviously running in three markets can be tough, but you have people. How do you decide to move your cars, and how do you eventually move them?
So we really just base them off of the two worst performing months, which is May and October. So May comes around, we try and book our cars out cheap until middle of May, and then we just hopefully they book out, and then we just make the move, and we just caravan a bunch of cars up and down. We book cheap flights a long way out, and then make sure that they're good to go. Nice thing now is we are getting access to central dispatch with a dealer's license to move those cars up and down, which will be cheaper than getting on a flight and less time consuming for us as well. So that's kind of what we've done recently, especially like in October. It was a lot of plane time and seat time for me and my dad. So
I'm sure you racked up those mileage points though.
racked up a lot of miles. Yeah.
Nice. Little
Yep.
Amex business lounge. I see it. I see it.
Yep. That was the tax deduction right there alone.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
So
We have
yeah.
yet to make a video on
Uh,
tax deductions that like Turo brings in, but
it's insane.
it really is,
You
and no one
you could
talks
just
about it.
if yeah, if you were just making gobs of money from something else, you could make so much. You could just write off so much expense
Yeah,
with a Turo account. So
100%.
huge tax haven.
yep.
So of these 42 cars, right, which is an insane number to just wrap your head around. Obviously, you said that you guys kind of just started diving headfirst into it of last year. How many cars
Yeah,
did you have for last year before you really, really dove in?
10.
So
We
you added 32 cars in less than 12 months.
we added 32 cars in less than 12 months. A lot of it was from business credit through things like Car Putty and stuff like that. Um, Obviously, Car Putty's having problems adding new people right now, but we were able to get our foot in the door. And then we kind of switched our model up. You know, we were originally, you know, financing these $20,000 minivans and stuff like that. And we kind of, over the past, you know, couple months have realized that, hey, these minivans are great. They're super reliable. We're going to have them around for 5-6 years. And we're buying them with under, you know, around 120,000 miles. And we're buying just Toyota Siennas and Honda Odysseys. And then we kind of realized, hey, you know what? These all-wheel drive SUVs that we have as well, they do close to the same amount as you know, our minivans, and they're all-wheel drive, which means they can actually spend the winter in our home market. And so we kind of changed our buying strategy to these sub $10,000 cars, and so now we're paying cash for these cars. Which, I mean, once you start paying cash for these cheaper cars, and they pay themselves off relatively quickly, they can just turn into absolute cash cows. So
Yeah, well, it's a huge compound effect, right? You buy 10, 20 of those
100%.
20 cars, you take all that cash flow,
Yep.
and with 20 of them, you have enough to buy a new car every single month.
Exactly.
So is that what you guys are doing at this point? You think you're adding a vehicle pretty much every single month?
1 to 2 cars a month is our
Wow.
current ad rate. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, not bad
Yeah.
at all. So I mean, if Troy like has a question right now, but I do want to take it back to like when you were just starting out. You know, I'm curious, like, were you doing like a 9 to 5 at the time?
I was doing a couple things. So first things first, my dad is actually the first one that listed a car on Turo. I was working in car sales at the time, and I was working for Nissan. I hated working for Nissan. I don't like them as a vehicle at all. I was pretty much just selling used Toyotas and Hondas. I was just that's all I was doing. I couldn't stomach selling another vehicle to someone, and so. But I was also a huge fan of Mazda, and so I went and bought brand new our 2020 Mazda MX-5, and my dad saw my Mazda, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna buy a Tesla." So he went and bought a Tesla, and he's got a tech background, and so he had a decent amount of he had good credit, and he was able to go and finance that Tesla at a cheap rate. And then he found Turo, and he listed the car on Turo before Tesla's absolutely crashed in terms of value. And in our original home market, I'll say it's Salt Lake City, it the Tesla market just absolutely bottomed out. And so but he bought it, and it was renting out well on Turo, and so I said, I'll throw my Mazda on there. So we got the Mazda on there, and then we said, okay, why don't we just buy a minivan? So we bought a minivan, and it started renting out really well. So we decided, okay, let's buy a Lexus RX 350 2010. And again, that was 2 years ago when you list a 2010. I miss those days. And we got that and listed that, and it started doing great as well. And so we said, okay, why don't we just wait for the off season, and come summertime, we'll just go in. And that's what we did. So, yep, most of our purchasing went from May of last year until early July.
Damn, okay.
So,
nice.
And then we bought out another Turo host in August of last year as well, who had 12 cars. So that's a third or a quarter of our fleet as well.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
What did that process look like?
Yeah.
Buying out somebody else? Did you assume their notes, or was it a full cash buyout? How did that work?
So we took on we pretty much bought out his business and took on his whole LLC as our company now. And so then we were able to transfer the loans that he had. Part of the reasoning we wanted to buy him out was because he had like 2.5% loans on these cars, and it's a local credit union who has a business loan structure to where you can swap out the collateral, almost like car putty, and so we ended up going with that, and picking that up on as well. And so that's what really gave us the data that we can survive up here. in my market without needing to, move cars. So
Jesus. And you assume the loan's at 2.5%?
yes,
Oh,
That's fire.
that's insane. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. How did you connect with this guy to be able to buy him out?
He booked one of our cars on Turo just to reach out to us and say, "Hey, I'm getting out of Turo. Do you want my loans?" He said, "You're the only host in the area that could probably afford this." So I said, "Yeah, let's do it." So
That's like golden platter, dude.
Yeah.
I know. It was, and then also we were working with the city at the time for parking. He had a lot, like he had leased for a year, and perfect lot for us. And so we took on his lot. We took on, his notes, and yeah, it's been pretty great ever since. So
Holy shit. That's awesome.
That's a gift from the
Yeah.
heavens.
I know, yeah, absolute gift. So, yeah, it's been good. It's those we call it our shitbox fleet because boy, there's some monies on there, that if I wanted to, I probably should just jettison them, but they keep making $12,000 a year, and so why would I? So
I know that struggle, man. I have one of my cars that's an absolute shitbox. Every month I evaluate it. I'm like, I'm gonna sell this thing. I'm gonna sell this thing. It books 28 days out of the month. I'm like,
yeah, it's like why would I sell it? Why would I sell?
I'm trying so hard to sell this car, man, but they keep renting it.
Yeah, exactly. So
Hilarious.
yeah, that's that entire fleet. But we also ended up pretty much just becoming co-hosts of his Turo account, moving the banking information pointing to our account instead of his, and that was pretty much it. So
Wow.
yeah.
Interesting.
So a couple of the cars that wouldn't transfer over, we ended up just taking over as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's simple.
Yep.
So to go back for a second, at what point at what point when you were doing this with your dad, did you decide, all right, fuck Nissan, I'm quitting and I'm going full time into this?
So the fuck Nissan thing actually happened because of my fiance, who we were dating. We were three months into dating at the time. She said, "Hey, I'm going up to this university up here, in my town. Do you wanna come with me?" And I was living in Salt Lake City at the time, and I was again 3 months into dating. I just said, you know what, fuck it, I'll move. And so I dropped everything I was doing, went and worked. I think first I was working at Walmart, just fucking in the automotive section, stocking items on a fucking shelf, and just didn't enjoy it. And so when I talked to my dad, I said, hey, I'm at university part-time, I get it, but I think we can make a business out of this. And so we did.
Nice.
So
How did that start? Did you guys move one of your cars from your original market up there? Or did you say, let's just buy a couple cars and test it up here?
So we were kind of just, during the summer, 2 years ago, we were kind of just kicking around, and I said, "Hey, what does a car rent out for in the summertime in this market?" So I looked, and I was like, "You're telling me I can rent a 2014 Toyota Sienna for $175 to $225 a day?" And I was like,
Bruh.
and I was like, this car is $18,000. Of course I'm gonna fucking buy it. So we moved a car up there and we got those rates and we were like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Why aren't the car rental companies doing this? And so we looked at the car rental companies. A Ford Expedition in this market makes $430 a day. Like a Ford Expedition, just random off the street. It's ridiculous. That's what the car rental companies are charging. And so if you're charging $300, $350, then the consumer is getting a great deal for it, and you're making out like a bandit on the car. So yeah, summers are great. But again, on the other stick, you know, like our 2013 Lexus that we have does great rates in the summertime, $150 plus a day. During the wintertime, it's been sitting for 3-4 days now at $30 a day, and so it's a super bipolar market. So
That's absurd.
Yep.
So you're saying summer, how many months does that $150 per day last?
3 months.
3 months.
You get you get 1 month of maybe $80 a day in September, but after that it falls off a cliff. So, yep, May is again, it's no pay May is what we call it. And Turo's automatic pricing, I think, lowballs, right? I'll show, for example, that I've got a Mazda 5 that I'm currently renting out for $28 a day. The last week of June, Turo's automatic pricing has it at $300 a day.
That's crazy.
It's fucking ridiculous.
So, yeah, like if you're okay with sharing it, like what's your best and worst month, like revenue wise? I know it's a little hard to say because you added so many cars within a year.
I mean, I'll say it was July. July was our highest month, and last year, you know, I don't know how many cars we had at the time exactly, but we did $50,000. We did more than $50,000 in July, because I'm not including the other fleet that we bought. We did probably $85,000, $90,000 in July, and then our worst month was November. We did $15,000.
What's your expenses like?
That was a losing month for us. Our expense is probably around 24,000 a month.
Okay. Wow, that 80,000 a month was crazy.
I know, and I mean that 12,000 was with our 40. We had over 40 cars at the time, and so, yeah, that was a rough month for us. So, but we weren't at 40 cars last year in July. We were at 25. So, I mean, if there's not a week in the summertime where Turo doesn't pay us out $45,000 in 1 week, I'm gonna be shocked. So, yeah.
Jesus, man.
So, what are you anticipating that month to be this year? You're thinking over 150?
July. It'll be July. 100. Anywhere from 120 to 150 for July this year.
That is absurd.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. So
I just want to rewind real quick and just say a 2014 $300 a day.
Yeah. Let me just confirm.
It's insane.
Can you like for this video? Can you send me like one picture of that booking just so I can plan it? Like I'll blur out like names and whatnot.
It's not booked yet. Again, that's just the Turo automatic pricing.
Oh, okay.
But I'm happy to send over a booking from last year. But I mean, on a 2017 Sienna, that's our newest Sienna. They've got it over $400 a day for the last week of June, first week of July.
Like you're renting a Lamborghini.
It's wild. That's automatic pricing. That is automatic pricing.
They automatic price my cars that I rent out for $120 a day. They automatic price them at like 70. So that means you could probably
exactly.
That's
Exactly.
insane, man.
It's bad shit. So, we have a couple sprinters as well. They did okay. The problem with our sprinters is they're super high expense, and again, they're not making enough to justify having them on, where my $5,000 2013 Mazda 5 is making this, $2,500 a month in the summertime. So
yeah, I was gonna say that's 100% cash on cash in 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. It's not worth it, especially when a sprinter is like $40,000. It's like I'm not gonna take on that expense or that risk again. So,
well, that's a nice luxury you have, that you can experiment and like see which cars do well and which not, and like you can like take that hit if it's not
great.
doing well.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely.
Like when people reach out from like Cali Phoenix, and you know it's like a very oversaturated area. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how many hosts, but like you found a niche, and like a lot of these people are too lazy to go and find a niche. You know, they just go,
100%.
I want to get that Tesla, and like
Yep.
there's like 100, 200, 300 Teslas. Like they got to find that niche,
Yep.
whether it's sprinter vehicles, ship boxes, all-wheel drive, etc.
Yep, 100%. And like we operate, I'll admit it as well. I'll say we work in Phoenix. We've operated at. There's 2 airports in Phoenix. There's Mesa Gateway and there's Sky Harbor. Uh, there's 2 weeks in Phoenix where it's a flash in the pan. Your Sienna will go for $90 a day, but after that, it's anywhere from 35 to 60 a day. And if we're able to just expand and slowly shrink our minivan foothold into just all-wheel drive crossovers, we're gonna make that sort of money in the off season with just high utilization, and that's okay with me. If my cars are out for 28 days of the month for 30 a day, I've bought them cheap enough that's fine with me. So that's kind of where I sit on it. So we used to not think that way, but that's part of the learning process.
Of course.
Yeah.
Initially we were in sports cars. When I first started out, we had a Mazda Miata, we had the Tesla, and we bought a 2002 Porsche Boxster and a 1999 Porsche 911. And we've sold the Boxster, but we still have the 911. And we just learned that they don't rent out enough. People need economy cars, and they need cars that will go through the snow. And the sports cars don't do that. So.
Yeah, the Boxster and the 911 don't do that very well, huh?
No, well, the 911's all-wheel drive, and so it does the trick. It's my personal vehicle when it sits. So.
Nice.
Yep.
So next question. Do you guys do any private rentals to really get that boost of revenue?
We do private rentals in our home market. We don't do them outside of it because, well, especially in Phoenix, I don't want someone taking a private rental and taking my car south of the border. That's a really good way for me not to ever see the car again, and Turo would at least pay me out.
Yeah.
No guarantees on the other person's insurance. So we do it up here. We basically base it off of the Turo price, and then we add in the trip fee, and then if someone if someone's renting it for over a week, then I'll discount it 10%. So, but the revenue that I'm taking away from, or that Turo is taking on that trip, more than makes up for that additional. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You're basically getting almost double your rate minus 10%.
Exactly.
What's 10%?
Exactly. What's 10%? So, and then the nice thing is we run our cars during the off season at the 75 plan. I just can't stomach a $2,500 deductible on a $30 a day car. But during the summertime, we flip that to 90% because the amount of money that we're making on the cars, more than pays for itself. So, yep.
No, that's really smart. A good way to leverage your risk, because to your point, that extra 15% on $30, you're talking $4, but on $400, you're talking $60.
Exactly. Yeah, we're talking $60 a day. Like, shoot, doggy. So, yep.
It's insane. I'm just trying to do the math in my head really quick. Even at an average of like $200 per day across 40 cars, that's $8,000 a day.
Yeah.
And I'm underestimating. Like, that is absurd.
Yes. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. We can make it. So, yep. Yeah.
So, all right, next question. What's your end game for the cars? Do you plan to run them till they explode?
It varies, some of these cars, I'm more than happy to let run into the ground. The majority of, let's say for my sprinters, I've had enough experience with them that, when we're to the point to where we can make some money off of the sale of them, I'll probably jettison them. Right now, I'm just not at that point. Want to get through the summer. I mean, we're already February, right? Might as well let it run through the summer and then sell it end of season. Um, my minivans. Oh, I'm gonna run forever. I don't know. I don't know when I'm gonna sell them yet, because there's no reason to. If the car can last another season and I can just baby it, put it off to the side, and get ready to rock and roll again for the next season, I'll do it. I mean, our highest mileage car has 193,000 miles on it. I plan on running it till 270. So, and we put about 15,000 to 20,000 miles a year on our cars. So they don't do a ton of miles, thankfully, compared to other Turo hosts. I've seen people get 30 to 45,000 miles on their cars. Yeah.
Steven will tell you one of his.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I offered unlimited mileage on my Gamer.
We've been extremely fortunate.
Nice, man.
So actually, that brings me to a question really quick, because as I have a couple of my cars that are starting to get higher mileage. They've kind of passed that 130. I have one sitting out at 150, and I haven't had a single guest complain about, oh, this is a 150,000 mile car. Have you ever had anyone say anything about your 190,000?
The only people that complain are people that have problems with you as a host. So if someone is upset about parking, or someone's upset about other issues with the vehicle, they will note that mileage as an issue.
Okay.
But if once someone rents a car that's older than 6 years old, they can expect it to have high mileage. They're not going to care. I've had maybe one, maybe two people complain about it, and I've done 1,800 trips, so it's not that big of a deal. Nobody cares. They care that they have a car and it's going to get them where they need to go, and it's going to do the job that it needs to do. So
Right. And if you're renting the 10 to 15-year-old car, you know what you're getting.
Exactly. You know what you're getting into. So, if it was a 2021 and it had 130,000 miles, then I'd get it, But
Right.
I mean, my newest car is my 2020 Mazda and the Model Y. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So I have a two-part question that kind of follows up on, kind of adding the cars and things like that. One,
Yeah.
what is your guys' long-term vision as a business? Do you plan on getting to 200, 300 cars? Do you plan on fully moving off, going to private? And then the second question is Turo specifically, do you see it ever getting to the point that, people say it now, it's oversaturated? Do you ever see it becoming oversaturated and you kind of losing your market share?
So, I want to be end game 200 cars total, operating in 3 of the markets up here in my state. If I can get to that point, 70 cars in each one, I think I'm golden. We are working on spinning up a website. It's probably going to be done after this season. Just because, we're so busy right now, it doesn't make sense to, once
Yeah.
off season comes, then I can kind of refocus on that website building. But continue to run private rentals through from people that call in. I put my Facebook, you can link your Facebook on Turo now. And so I do that. And then my Facebook has our business phone number, so people can call us there if they're savvy enough to click through that. If not, then they just book it on Turo,
Yeah.
And so, end game, if we're doing private rentals as well, perfect. If not, that's totally fine. I think we can work with Turo. Now, as for the saturation side of the fence, I do see there's maybe a little bit of saturation in my market as I continue to scale to 70 cars in this one. But if I'm spreading it out across 3 different markets that are all within 3 hours of each other, I think I'm going to be good. So, but that's up here, Salt Lake City, saturated. Phoenix, way saturated. It's terrible down there. So, those markets, I think so. And especially like the Teslas in those 2 markets, I mean, everybody and their dog is renting a Tesla Model Y
Yeah.
on Turo in those two. And I know a lot of people do have success with them. They're personal cars at this point. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
Yep.
guess one more question to follow up with that. If you get to 200 cars, how many employees do you anticipate to have at that point? Because that's kind of something that I'm struggling with at my point is I'm at about 15 cars in my market now, and I can
Yeah.
run around freely. I'm only
Right.
about 30% deliveries, so it's
Yeah.
fairly easy for me. How many people do you
Sure.
think you would run 210 cars?
I think I'm gonna. So I base it off of one person can handle around. I did last year alone. I could do 30 cars. I did 30 I did 30 cars for some time plus four that a business partner in Phoenix sent up. So I did 34 cars during the summertime, and I was able to do it. It beats the living hell out of you though. And so if you have two people in each market running that, then I think you're golden. The other thing I want to eventually get into though is use the cash flow from my cash cars to eventually buy land to do storage or vacation property rentals, stuff like that, to eventually transition into that as well and just have multiple sources of income. And at that point, then I think it makes sense to have probably 2 to 3 people, I think it makes sense to have 2 to 3 people that are part time running the fleet. Because the thing for me is the 35 cars was a full time job. However, if you have 2 people, you can do it part time, and then you're able to split wages like that. And that's easier now. You could probably have one person that's full time staff, and you're still okay. And so total 10 employees for 200 cars
Seems fair.
between
Yeah.
3 markets, but that's including adding them on for doing property management and stuff like that as well. So.
Awesome. Yeah, really good insight.
Dream building for Turo, parking lot, wash bay, vacuum bay, and then like a little place where you can do oil changes and brakes, because those you'll find are quickly your 2 biggest expenses is brakes and oil changes. Tires sometimes they come up, but mostly brakes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
So I got I got one final question, but then before that one, even though you were managing 34 cars by yourself, would you still say it was better than your 9 to 5?
Way better than my 9 to 5. I was working for myself. Of course, it would be better than my 9 to 5.
Yeah, so I asked that because we know some people who are a little bit hesitant to come in to Turo, and I wanted to get your side. Like, even though you said it was like beating the hell out of you, it was taking away your time. It's still better than a 9 to 5.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
It's refreshing, and you look back at your day after you're done. And honestly, the other reason it was harder on me is because I was operating in 2 markets. There's an airport that's 2.5 hours north of me where I was driving cars during the summertime, and I'd have to probably do those at 4:30, 5 a.m. so I could get back down in time to run the rest of the cars that were in my home market. So that was partially why it took so much work, but even then, I'd finish up for the day, and I'd just enjoy myself. And so it's a lot of entrepreneurship is a lot of fun. If you're doing it right. If you're doing it wrong, then it's super stressful, but you're still having fun along the way and learning. So
100%. That's great advice, by the way. Thank you for including that. And so now going into the final questions for this interview. What are some tips you would give to someone who wants to start Turo? And what's the biggest downfalls or like the biggest mistakes you see hosts doing?
Okay. I think part of the equation, I'm going to do the downfall one first because we did it when we first started. We bought new and we bought overvalued. There's a hidden cost to Turo that a lot of people I don't think recognize, and that's the depreciation of your car. people are going to tell you that no, you're not paying for it. The guest is paying for it. You're the one that carries the note. You're
Right.
paying for it. And you don't make the money on the car when you sell it. You make it when you buy the car for under market value. And so that is super important. We made that mistake a couple of times on our cars, and that is a number one tip that I would absolutely talk about. The other thing is make sure when you're buying your car, if you are not mechanically inclined, go get a pre-purchase inspection on the vehicle, please. You're going to probably find 2 or 3 things that are wrong with the vehicle that you're able to either use as negotiating bits or price that in when you first purchase the vehicle, so you know how much your expenses are actually going to be. For example, you could buy, like, we bought a 2016 Toyota Sienna from a dealer, and you know, they had shown it had all these things just recently done. Took it to a mechanic. They were not recently done. It needed a significant amount of work, and you know, we were able to negotiate a lot of money off that car because of that work not being done. And so, you know, I just absolutely recommend at least speaking with a mechanic, and just, it's $100. You know, go get your pre-purchase inspection on your vehicle. The other thing is find a mechanic, either, you know, they don't have to be ASE certified. If they are, that's totally fine. If they're not, that's also okay. Just find someone mechanically inclined that is going to work with you on parts and repairing your vehicles if you're not going to do it yourself. Way better to partner that way. People will help out, and then it's just another person that you can rely on, which is super important. And then also try and shop around on your car washes as well, because you'll be surprised what deals people can get you. So
Yeah, those are great tips. And you know, when you said like you make your money when you buy your car, that's something that Troy always tells people.
yep, 100%, 100%.
Huge. And get a PPI, man, always, because
Yes.
they're trying to sell the car, man. They're going to tell you that the
Yeah.
brakes were just done, everything was just done. But a
Yeah,
mechanic
exactly.
is an outside guy that has no, you know, he gets nothing from lying to you. So
Yep. He
bring
has
someone
no
you
dog in
trust.
the fight.
That's
In
the
fact,
exact.
he wants to make the money off of you actually taking it to him afterwards and getting it fixed. So
Exactly.
go talk to a mechanic, and don't take it to a dealership for your service, please, unless it's warranted. Then do that. But like,
Oh, I hate when
dealers
people
will
do that.
bend you over. So
Stealership.
Yep.
yep.
All right.
So
Well, that was a great interview. I mean, Troy, do you have any questions to leave off with?
No, man, I'm excited. I'm hoping that once your season starts, we can jump back on here in a couple of months, man, and you can fucking
100% happy to talk about it once the season's over.
yeah, blow our socks off with your numbers, man, and let's see how many cars you're
Yeah.
at. I'm adding cars like crazy over these next couple of months, so I'm gonna try to catch you.
100%. Catch me if you can.
I like it.
Awesome.
So, Caleb, do you
Yes,
have
sir.
like any social medias or anything that you want to like leave the viewers with to how they could find you?
I don't have a social. Well, I have social media, but it's all private.
Way to be.
I'll send a link to you for our Google page,
Okay.
and then they can see where we actually operate. So
Okay, cool.
I'll leave that there.
All right, and I'll
So,
leave that down in the description. But yeah, guys, that's all for this interview. Like, subscribe, comment. You know, if you want to see more guests, we're definitely going to be doing that. Caleb was a great first guest, and we really thank him for coming on. And yeah,
Hey,
Stephen, Troy, Caleb,
appreciate you having me.
signing off. Thank you for joining us, my man. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thanks,
Take care.
Caleb.
Hey, appreciate it.